GoldenEye 007 Wii Review. GoldenEye, back on the N64, created by Rare, when they were still top-grade developers, was one of the most highly acclaimed games ever made, whereas the rest of the James Bond tie-in games were average at best and flawed messes at worst. So it's no surprise then that Activision would want to milk that success. This brings us to the modern up-to-date remake with a completely new cast. Also, has anybody else noticed that the menu style is the same one used in the film Quantum of Solace? No? Okay. Instead of Pierce Brosnan, we have Daniel Craig. There's no Q, 006 is no longer Sean Bean and has been replaced with a nobody, and M, well, that's still Judi Dench. It's still the movie you remember, just with none of the original actors' characteristics. 007 infiltrates a Russian dam, then shoots his way out. 007 infiltrates a Russian satellite dish, then shoots his way out. Bond, James Bond, infiltrates a nightclub, and then, well, you get the idea. Add in a few one-liners, a couple of stereotypes, a few exotic locations, and you've got your basic James Bond movie. Graphics have come a long way in 10 years. Seen side by side, you can really notice the difference, but because this is a Wii game, it still feels dated, and that's not the fault of the devs. Eurocom have managed to get the most out of this little machine with a generally highly detailed world. One such impressive moment comes in the club level. They did a really good job at masking the limitations of the hardware. While generally very good, the frame rate is prone to drop at the more intense moments of the game. The musical score has plenty of familiar tunes, and the game even has one of the movie's bizarre opening credits with the actual theme tune. The in-game music varies depending on whether you're sneaking around hiding in air ducts or blasting your way through the front door, guns blazing, and does a pretty good job at capturing the right tone. Gameplay-wise, you're put in the shoes of the top British secret agent, with most levels giving you an option to sneak through like a panther in tux, stealthily creeping up behind unsuspecting enemies to perform a swift, silent takedown, or you can make use of the silent pistol. Inevitably, no matter how careful you're trying to be, an alarm will sound and suddenly there'll be absolutely no chance to be stealthy until you get to the next checkpoint. Instead of carefully picking off men one by one, you'll take part in shootouts with tens of armed men. The transition can be a bit jarring, and now suddenly all enemies are aware of your position and will be shooting at your location with pinpoint accuracy. Even when there is a wall in front of you. Or you could go rushing in like a lion wearing a sombrero. You know, loud and garish. This sees you shoot down every poor soldier in the area, dutifully doing his job, while the alarms go off and reinforcements are sent to bolster the poor saps who you're currently giving lead poisoning to. The ability to sneak around and flank groups of enemies is pretty much impossible outside a few set pieces. It does make the firefights a bit dull. There are various environmental elements to take advantage of, like conveniently placed exploding barrels, exposed gas ovens, and bizarrely exploding electrical equipment. Also, cover gets destroyed. That forces you to move around, or find cover that doesn't get damaged. The AI can provide some challenge, due to their ability to appear out of nowhere behind you when you hit a trigger, but they're generally not the brightest bulbs in the box. I will say using the Wiimote and Nunchuck combo is a complete pain in the ass. Not game breaking, I managed to complete the game and have some fun online with that control method, so if you only have the Wiimote and Nunchuck, don't worry, but I would highly recommend using either a classic controller, maybe painted gold, or a GameCube controller, both of which are compatible with this game. In addition to your standard Silence P99, Bond can carry two more weapons: pistols, machine guns, submachine guns, sniper rifles, and of course shotguns are lit throughout the level to help spice things up. However, coupled with the lack of grenades or meaningful second fire action for the weapons, you can't help but feel a bit limited. Additional missions are back. On the lowest level, you simply have to follow the plot, break in, snap pictures of a helicopter, plant a few explosives, then break out. However, the higher the difficulty, the more tasks you have to complete. Downloading files, erasing CCTV footage, finding evidence of weapons trafficking, etc, etc. Fail to complete all the tasks and you'll be allowed to continue, but on a lower level. This is what gives the game a sense of challenge, and creates a craving to go back and replay missions on higher difficulties, just to find out what that mysterious room is for, or why there are additional areas that seem to have no purpose. To do this, you'll need Bond's new fancy smartphone, the iSpy trademark, which you can use to hack controls, take photos, arm bombs, and even doubles as a telephone! For those that want a more retro feel, you can choose the hardest level, which takes away the regenerative health of modern day shooters and replaces it with a health bar. To survive the firefights, you're required to collect armour to bolster your health. It's a lot of fun in this mode, perhaps slightly marred by the dodgy cover system and omnipresent AI. Of course, back in the day, GoldenEye wasn't really about the single player, as great as it was. It was a world-changing multiplayer, and probably the reason why there even is a Halo multiplayer in the first place. And I'm pleased, shocked, but pleased, to announce that even after all this time, the online community is still very much alive. You can easily log in to get some random person to kill you for free. There are various modes, and I'm sure you can guess what most of them are. Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, and King of the Hill are all there. Sure, they're not called that, but it isn't fooling anybody. Then you've got the Golden Gun mode, which sees the level drop one golden gun, the gun that kills with one shot, and everybody rushes after that. Then you've got Heroes, where one player in each team gets a health and damage boost. The more you play, and the better you do, the more XP you'll gain, which in turn unlocks new weapons, gadgets, and some new multiplayer modes, which I didn't bother to do. All in all, it's a very frantic multiplayer that is a lot of fun. Oh, and of course, if you don't have the internet connection, or you prefer owning people in the same room, you have a chance for a split-screen multiplayer too. GoldenEye is a pain in the ass to rate really. On one hand, you've got a good game, interesting story, good gameplay, and a fun multiplayer. On the other, we've already seen this story. The gameplay is something we experienced over 10 years ago, and the multiplayer is average, when we were expecting brilliance. I guess the game has to stand its own merits. Would somebody who never experienced the original title find this game fun? Yes is the answer. The single player provides plenty of action and replayability, and while this time round the multiplayer isn't going to be world changing, it at least does a good job. Fan of the original? Fan of Bond? Or neither, you could do a lot worse than checking this game out.
Nice trick.
This game gets an 8 out of 10.
Trying to show me up? You said we were running late. Let's move. Hey, James. For England? For England, Alec. Always for England.